Hi guys, it's Bill and welcome back to my channel. Last year, or Christmas 2024, I made an advent calendar and that is on my YouTube channel if you want to go check that out. This year I wanted to make another advent calendar, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. So this year we are making a gatefold advent calendar. There's quite a lot to it, but if you follow along, you should have no problems. So let's get started.
Okay, so with the advent calendar, there's quite a lot of parts to the calendar itself. So you're going to need 10 sheets of cardstock. I'm using this like craft board. It's 300 GSM. As well as that, you're also going to need the scoring stylus. It suggests to use the double, but I'm actually using the single, and also the perforation blade. You probably could use the scoring stylus if you don't have the scoring wheel, but you will need the perforation blade. So you're going to need some Cricut pens as well. I'm using 2 gel pens in a pink and a blue, and also a blue for the numbers as well. These I'm going to use on the stars. This will be used on the numbers. You can use any colour pen you want. I just thought these were nice, and the reason I use these ones is because I've got some Cricut shimmer vinyl and I'm going to cut out some snowflakes as well, because I feel like these colours kind of match this as well. I wouldn't use the vinyl on the front because with all of the perforations and everything, it might get a little bit tricky, so I would use the pens for that, and I would use the vinyl for the back. If you want to use the vinyl for the back, obviously totally up to you. You're going to need one of these, which I always forget the name, but basically I think it's called a bone folder. I always forget the name, and that's obviously for sorting out the creases. And you're going to need a hot glue gun, and you'll need some tissue paper if you wanted to do that step, but you don't have to. And also something to stick that down with. You can use one of these, which is like a little glue, I'm not really sure what it is, applicator, or you can use some double-sided tape. As long as it's thin, it'll be absolutely fine, but of course you can always cut it down, or if you don't want to do that step, you can totally miss it out, not a problem. So when you open up Cricut Design Space, as before, you're greeted with quite a lot. It's all pretty simple once you start breaking it down, and I'll explain absolutely everything. So you have in purple what I am calling Advent Calendar 1. So you have the back, you have the front, you have the inner frame, and the inner frame is in 2 parts. It's the front and the back. And then you have exactly the same for the second part. Got some additional stars if you want to use them. And you've also got you've got what I'm calling the bridge. And then you've got some additional numbers here as well. We are going to hide everything that we don't need. We'll start off with cutting the first advent calendar. Hi, Editing Bill here from the future. So I'm not really sure what happened, but the next bit that I filmed, for some reason, it just didn't work. I don't really know what happened, but basically what I did is when I cut all of the pieces, so that's the back, the front, and the inside frame, and the bridge, which you only need 1 of, not 2, for both calendar 1 and calendar 2. What I did is I set it to watercolor paper, and I set it to the pressure to more. The back of the advent calendar, for both of them, it asks for the scoring stylus and a basic cut. For the front of the advent calendar, it asked for, I think it started off with a score, and then it asked for the gel pens. So that was the blue, the pink in the glitter, and then also just the blue in the, I think it was like a medium, I don't remember. Then it also then asked for the perforation blade and then the basic cut. And again, that's the same for both of the advent calendars. And then with the inside frame, it asked for the score and the basic cut. I'm really sorry, but for some reason, the footage that I filmed for that part, it's just unusable. I'm sorry, I don't know why, but that's basically what you need. So I apologise about that, but back to the video.
Okay, so everything is cut out. The one thing that I did forget to talk about was the stars. I used this stuff, which is premium shimmer from Cricut. Again, I just thought it really matched the pens quite well. So this is everything that's cut out. So you will have one part of the calendar, front and back, the other part of the calendar, front and back, and then you will have the inside frame for one part of the calendar, second part of the frame, front and back, and then you will have what I'm calling I think I called it the bridge, as I seem to remember. So all of this, when I was first designing it, looked quite daunting, but it's actually not as bad as it actually looks. So what we're going to do is we're going to put everything to one side apart from one part of the calendar. You need to be very careful with this because also you don't want to pop any of these pieces out. So I'm actually going to use the corner of my desk, fold along those lines there. For me personally, I find it a bit easy to start off with that. But once we've done that, just fold that over. And this is where this thing comes in handy. So you can scrape that along, like so. And again, what I'll do is I'll do one calendar and show you, and then the second calendar is basically done exactly the same way. And you want to make sure that you're folding along the crease lines because that's going to help putting the entire thing together. And these things, you know, they can be quite tricky to do as well. So that's that part folded. So let's do this piece. So that is the folding done for that part of the calendar, and then obviously these pieces will just pinch over. Okay, so then we come to, sorry, I think I just hit the camera. Then we come to the glue. Now I'm using a hot glue gun. When I made the first one, I used a cool glue gun, but actually a hot glue gun basically works best. So we'll put a blob here and we'll put a blob there, and then we will move these over and just pinch them till they dry. And it don't take too long, but obviously a hot glue gun gives you a little bit longer to work with than a cool glue gun. And then we'll do the same here. So that is our outer part done, basically the back. Then of course we come to the inside piece, and this is basically just done in exactly the same way. Okay, so the front and the backs of the calendars are now done. So now we need to come into the inside frame, and this is where it tends to look a bit complicated. So when I made the advent calendar last year, I just used the same material and just did like one of those classic, I'm not really sure what you call them, but you know, we have a piece and then it slots in. Everything went south. So this year I wanted to make sure that that wasn't going to happen. Let's start off with the first one. Now, this has a front and a back, and one side flips over and the other side goes on top. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with folding all of the corners first of all. Now, these pieces are quite tricky and fiddly, but once you start doing them, it starts to kind of make sense. Fold this over and use my scraper. I would do the corners on both of them before you do the inside piece. The inside pieces, sorry. The way they're designed to fold is they're designed to fold in on themselves. So this piece will fold in, and what I would do is I would just put 2 fingers down or 3 fingers and just fold up. And because there's obviously a score line, that's going to help it. And exactly the same with this. Just fold that down, and we'll do the same for all of these pieces. Piece is a bit longer, it has a cut as well, so just be careful. But again, just fold along and then just take that piece and then fold, and then you have another piece and just gently fold. Once you get that initial fold, put it down flat. And then you've got the same one here, so you've got this tiny flap here, and then you have this piece here, and again just get that initial fold and put it down flat, and then you have exactly the same on this side as well. So that is the first bit done, and then what we will do is we will glue these pieces. Now these only have the little flaps here that glue. There's not a long flap like the other one. So that is the first piece done. Then we come to the second piece. The second piece ironically has less. Now some of these you will need to glue, some of them you won't. Okay, so that's all of those pieces done. Just push that there and put a blob of glue there. So that's one piece done. So you have a front and a back. What I would do is I would move all of these pieces out the other way, which is you're basically folding them back on themselves. Seemed a little counterintuitive, I know, but it will help. Okay, so the inside piece, one piece goes in on the other, and that goes like that. So initially this looks quite scary. It's not. I would start off at the bottom piece here, and all you do is you flip that round, you flip that under, you flip it over, and where you have that little cut, all you do is you just poke that out and stick that piece in, and that's one piece done. So then we come to the second bit. So this is, it's done exactly the same way. You fold it up, you fold it under and over, and then that little cut there, all you do is you just slot that bit in. So those pieces are in, they don't need gluing, but the other pieces, they're not long enough to do exactly the same thing, so you will need to glue them. So it's kind of up to you how you wish to do this. It is a little bit tricky and a little bit fiddly. But like I said, I wanted this to be secure. So that goes through and that goes through. So what we'll do is we'll take our glue gun and just put a tiny bead of glue there and squeeze that down, and tiny bit of glue there and squeeze that down. And what I would say is just make sure that this piece is as far over and touching the back piece as much as possible, so they're making a really good contact. So that's that piece. That's that piece. And then it's just a case of folding them all through and gluing them all together. And again, I would use a hot glue gun for this over something like a PVA or a double-sided tape. They're good, but I just think a glue gun is better. Right, so that is the first part of the inside frame done. And you don't have to, but if you want to, you can put some glue down the side and just stick those together. So that is the first inside frame. Let's make the next one. Right, exactly the same thing. All we do is we fold the sides and then we start arranging it. So let's do that. So that is those pieces glued. And again, what we'll do is we'll start off with the bottom and we'll work our way up. So we've got the first piece here. So then what we'll do is we'll just use a bead of glue along there. And we'll get that first piece glued into place. So then our second piece can come up and can come over. Glue in, and the same for this piece as well. So we'll get that bit glued in. Once you start doing them, it does become just a little bit more easier. It's just about being patient. Great. So there you have the other side of the advent calendar and the inside of the advent calendar. What I'll just say is just put some more glue down there just to seal it. So then of course we come to this part, which is the bridge. Now what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to do exactly the same. On the corner of the table, I'm just going to fold on this piece, fold, and then ironically I'm going to take it the other way and I'm going to fold it back on itself. And this will become the piece that is going to keep both pieces of the advent calendar together. Okay, so what I've got here is I've cut down 2 pieces of tissue paper, not exactly to size, just very roughly to size, and these will go over the frame here and they'll be stuck down. We now have the fronts and the backs of our advent calendar, and what we want is the moment is just the backs. So we'll put this to one side. So this is our bridge. This is what is going to join each advent calendar together. So we now need to glue this in place, and again I would recommend using a hot glue gun. Just pinch this together. You can use a bulldog clip if you want, and just put plenty of hot glue in there. Flip this piece around. We'll lift this up and we'll put some glue on here. And pinch that in, and you want to pinch it as closely to that as you can and get the bottom in as close to that as you can as well. And really butt it up as tightly as you can. So it's obviously a little bit loose, but that's absolutely fine. So now what we need to do is we need to Again, this is a little bit tricky, but just be patient with it and it should be absolutely fine. So that's that piece. So we just want to hold that in and pinch that till that glue dries. And then we want to flip around and we want to do exactly the same here in this side. And obviously you want to be quick because you're working with hot glue. You don't want it to dry. And that forms the outside of your advent calendar. Now comes to the inside pieces. So you can basically put these pieces round any way you want. It's entirely up to you. It's entirely up to you which way you want to do it, but I'm going to put them like this. So now obviously we need to put the inside pieces in. These don't need to be glued in, but they do need to go in the right way. This piece, which should go in there. And then we have this piece, which I believe should go in like this. And so the way you want it to be, it's a bit snug, but again, just don't force it. It will just, should hopefully just go in. So the way that you want it, these pieces here form the base and those pieces like that are the underneath. Now we come to filling it, which will be with chocolate. So now this is all filled with the chocolate, which is great. And then these pieces of tissue paper will go over the front. Now, you can use double-sided tape or you can use one of these little glue dispensary type things. But what I would say is just start off at the bottom. Doesn't have to be stuck down amazingly well, but you just want enough on there. It's going to keep it in place. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to place it down. And then we will stick this down. You don't have to do this part if you don't want to. I just think it adds something a little nice when you break into it. There's like a, don't know exactly what you're going to get straight away. Now, a little bit of cardboard from one of the insides. I'm just going to gently stick that down the side. It's all stuck down the front. So this is going to be extremely tight on top of here. But what you need to do is you just need to be very patient with it. Just basically put it over the top. Don't let one side fall down too much. Try to keep it as over the top as possible. Sorry for my head. And then just gradually pop that on like that, and that should, there you go, that will fit down. So that is one side of it done. So then the second side. So exactly the same thing, you just need to gradually put it over and just ever so gently maneuver it into place. Don't let one piece go down too far before the next, otherwise it becomes very difficult to fit in. So that is the next piece stuck in. So that is your advent calendar. There's just a couple of more things that we still need to actually do. So obviously we don't want people breaking and stealing anything, so let's get some hot glue down the side there and stick that down, and this side as well. and this one too. Cool. So that is your basic advent calendar. And then the very last piece is just taking some of these snowflakes, just stick some of these on. So there you go, guys. That is the 2025 Advent Calendar, or Gatefold Advent Calendar, should I say. A little bit tricky in some places, but I think if you take your time with it, you should be absolutely fine. The cut files will be available on Cricut Design Space, so head on over there. The link will be in the description, and I will see you in the next one.